Welcome to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're diving into the complex and evolving situation between the United States and Venezuela. The recent strikes on Venezuelan boats have sparked intense debate, not just between political parties, but also within them. The Republican Party, in particular, is seeing rifts emerge as its members grapple with the implications of these actions. To understand the depth of this issue, let's break it down. President Trump's confirmation of a conversation with Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, followed by the declaration of Venezuelan airspace closure, marks a significant escalation in tensions between the two nations. The reasoning behind these strikes and the subsequent diplomatic maneuvers is multifaceted, involving concerns over drug trafficking, migration, and geopolitical influence in the hemisphere. What's interesting and somewhat unexpected is the division within the GOP on how to approach Venezuela. Some Republican lawmakers are backing President Trump's firm stance, viewing it as a necessary measure to combat drug trafficking and to counter the influence of regimes like Maduro's, which they see as authoritarian and hostile to U.S. interests. On the other hand, there are those who express caution, warning about the potential for military escalation and the humanitarian consequences of such actions. This internal debate reflects broader questions about U.S. foreign policy, especially in the Latin American region. It touches on issues of sovereignty, the role of the U.S. in global affairs, and how to balance security concerns with diplomatic efforts aimed at resolving conflicts peacefully. As we navigate these complex issues, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and to seek out a balanced understanding. The situation with Venezuela is not just about political ideologies or national interests. It also involves real people whose lives are directly affected by these decisions. We'll continue to monitor the developments in this story and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that the path forward will be challenging, requiring careful consideration and possibly a re-evaluation of current strategies. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into the complex world of geopolitics, where alliances are shifting and the global landscape is evolving at a rapid pace. Today, we're examining the growing relationship between China and Russia and what this means for Europe and the United States. The story begins with China's initial overtures towards Europe, which seem to suggest a potential shift in their relationship. However, as events have unfolded, it's become clear that China's priorities lie elsewhere. By supporting Russia in its conflict with Ukraine, China is not only gaining leverage over Moscow, but also building a politically and economically integrated system with a subservient Russia. This alliance is rooted in mutual benefit, with Putin's regime relying on Chinese support to maintain its power and legitimacy. In return, China gains access to Russia's natural resources and a strategic partner in its ambitions to challenge Western dominance. The implications of this Sino-Russian axis are far-reaching, with Europe facing an increasingly strong and united front. As we analyze this situation, it's essential to consider the historical context and the motivations driving these nations. China's desire to correct what it sees as historic injustices, particularly in relation to its northeastern border with Russia, adds a layer of complexity to this alliance. Meanwhile, Putin's domestic legitimacy is tied to his ability to deliver on his promise of restoring Russian greatness, which relies heavily on Chinese support. The United States and Europe must recognize the security implications of this growing alliance and adapt their strategies accordingly. A weakened Europe, unable to assist the U.S. in an Indo-Pacific conflict, would have significant consequences for global stability. As we move forward, it's crucial to maintain a nuanced understanding of these developments and their potential impact on the world stage. Welcome back to Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to dive into a developing story that's been making waves in the world of politics and defense. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has found himself at the center of controversy following reports that he gave a spoken order to kill survivors of a boat strike, which has led to allegations of war crimes. Now, let's break it down. According to an exclusive report from the Washington Post, Hegseth ordered a follow-up strike on two people who had survived the initial bombing of their boat on September 2nd. This incident has sparked a wider campaign of lethal hits on suspected drug boats from Venezuela, with at least 80 people killed in 21 strikes. Hegseth has denied these allegations, calling them fake news, and has even responded with a joke that many found to be in poor taste, a fake image of a Franklin the Turtle children's book titled "Franklin Targets Narco-Terrorists." However, lawmakers from both parties have expressed concern that targeting shipwreck survivors may indeed constitute a war crime. The Department of Defense's own Law of War manual prohibits no-quarter declarations, which includes conduct that ensures there shall be no survivors. Republican-led committees in the House and Senate have announced investigations into the report, with some lawmakers calling for Hegseth's resignation. It's worth noting that Hegseth appears to be shifting the blame to Admiral Frank Bradley, the Special Operations Commander who oversaw the September 6. While it's unclear how this situation will unfold, one thing is certain: the American people deserve transparency and accountability from their leaders. As we close out today's show, we want to encourage our listeners to stay informed about this developing story and its implications for our country's defense policies. Remember that in a democratic society, it's essential to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and to ensure that they uphold the values of justice and human rights. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.